We have said that we understand the type of carbohydrates. We also ensure that we select the quality carbohydrates, and we ensure that we combine or we pair them with quality proteins and fats. As a registered dietitian, I actually use food that is basically nutrients to help you solve your day-to-day problems. In this particular video, I am going to address some of the things that you can do to help you control your diabetes, regardless of whether you have genetic exposure, whether you have environmental exposure, or lifestyle exposures, that is basically diet and physical exercise. This video is going to be of help to you. It's quite unfortunate because more than 500 million of people have diabetes, and more than 96% of all those people are actually type 2 diabetes. The modifiable diabetes that was common in the recent past to people who are 65 years and above. So many things have changed in the way we produce, the way we manufacture food, the way we interact on even our environment, increasing the projections to more than 1.3 billion people who are going to be suffering from diabetes by 2050. The first thing that I want us to talk about is the importance of understanding your food. Because I'm a dietitian, I'm definitely going to dwell more on the nutritional aspect of it. But of course, we also have the medication, we also have the physical and the mental and the psychological aspect of care that is very important in diabetes. Someone who has diabetes basically means that they cannot control their blood sugars normally without the aid of medication or insulin. When you are in such a state, you want to ensure that the type of foods that you're going to have align with the medication that you're going to have, and they align with the goals of controlling the amount of blood sugars in line with the insulin that is going to be released in the body, or that you are going to inject, or even the oral medications that you're going to take up to help you control your blood sugars. Carbohydrates spike the blood sugars the most, and when you're taking up a meal, you need to ensure that you control intake of those. I've not talked about eliminating them because they come with other benefits. If you're taking whole and complex carbohydrates, if you're taking the vegetables, if you're taking the fruits, they come with additional nutrients, that is vitamins, minerals. So you just have to learn to control the types of carbohydrates that you're taking up. If you are in Kenya, we have diversity when it comes to our carbohydrate sources. We have the tubers, that is basically the sweet potatoes, arrowroot, the cassava. We also have wheat, maize, we have rice, wimbi, millet, mtama, all those. If you can actually access the unrefined or the less processed types of carbohydrates, that will be great, because they have actually been shown to reduce and slow down gastric emptying, which is very good for controlling your blood sugars, because they help release the glucose to the bloodstream at a slower rate compared to the refined and processed carbohydrates. Another thing that you're going to do is also understand that when you're taking up that carbohydrate, you need to ensure that you pair it right. Don't overload your system with carbohydrates at a go. Ensure that you combine the carbohydrates with other foods, things like fats and quality protein, because they also help in lowering the glycemic index of that particular carbohydrate. I talked about glycemic index in depth in this particular video right here, so ensure that you check it out afterwards, because it will be of help to you. Fats are micronutrients. They are energy packed, and they usually have very minimal or no effect on the blood glucose. That is something that you want to be taking if you are diabetic. We have both healthy and unhealthy fats, and because of socioeconomic reasons, most of us are actually not in a position to consume the healthy fats as often as we would like you to. I want you to understand that when you take up some nuts, because we have nuts in Kenya, there's njugu karanga for 10 shillings, for 20 shillings, you've increased your intake of fat. If you add a slice of avocado, I know they are not in season, but they are coming up, you're also increasing your fat intake. If you are at home and you drink mursik, you take up those malas or even those naturally made ghees, you're also increasing your intake of fat. We also have fish, we have omena, we have mbuta, all these seafoods that you can actually access. Quality fats come with additional nutrients that are very great for inflammation, and diabetes is an inflammatory disease. This means that it causes a lot of inflammation, and it is caused by a lot of inflammation. When you're taking up anti-inflammatories, things like zinc, things like omega-3, vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin D, that are found in these fatty fishes or fat sources of food, you're actually going to help yourself improve on the inflammation that is caused by uncontrolled blood sugars or diabetes. Another thing, consumption of fat is very important for someone who's struggling with metabolic disorders like diabetes, obesity, and even pre-diabetes or insulin resistance. The bad side of the unhealthy fats is quite very dramatic because they are inflammatory, they cause cell death, they cause cancers, they cause all those bad things, including diabetes. So you want to ensure that you separate the fats that you are going to increase consumption on. So things like olive oil, coconut, ghee, butter, all these are some of the quality fats that I want you to be taking. Things with fish and seafoods, you also need to be cautious about them to reduce the mercury toxicity that is quite common with seafoods. Still on the diet, you're still going to talk about the importance of protein and why protein is very essential in controlling and managing diabetes. When the body has a lot of inflammation, there's going to be a lot of cell death, and this definitely causes things like premature aging. That is why someone who's diabetic, they'll appear older than their counterpart who's not diabetic. So for you to be able to control this cell death, you need to ensure that you are consuming adequate. I've not talked about overconsumption of protein, because I have seen people who just want, because they've been told to limit carbohydrates, they want to do like protein. That is not something for a diabetic patient. You need to ensure that you control your protein intake, ensure that you take enough, don't over and don't underdo it. Protein intake for diabetic patients, they range between 0.8 to 1.5 depending on physical activity. The quality and the types of protein that you're going to take up depending on the disease, how well you're managing the condition, progression of the disease, and if you have any other complications that are actually common with diabetes. If not well taken care of, we have vascular damage, diabetic foot, I'm sure you've heard about it, the diabetes psychosis, we have compromised immune function. There's a lot of things that will determine the amount and the type of protein that a diabetic patient can actually take. That is why researchers, medical practitioners, and even healthcare workers have actually agreed that diabetes care is and should be personalized and individualized for each and every one of you, because we have different exposures, we have different genes, food preparation methods, socioeconomic levels, we have different beliefs and cultural traditions and such, and all these affect food intake, preparation, and selection. If you're looking for a dietitian to work with you to help you control your blood sugars, ensure that you reach out, and also let me know some of the challenges that you actually experience when controlling your diabetes in the comment sections. I'll definitely address all of that as well. I have elaborated on the importance of understanding the type of foods that you're going to take, because that is basically what the dietary aspect or dietary management of diabetes entails. Understanding your food in relation to the way your body is actually working. Another thing that I'm going to talk about is on the importance of fiber. Fiber is a macronutrient that we don't consume enough, but I applaud my Kenyan brothers and sisters because we're trying, because you'll find a Kenyan, they'll do either githeri and avocado. It's common for us to have skuma and ugali, or skuma and ugali and some eggs. We also need to diversify our fiber intake because it helps in controlling circulating blood sugars indefinitely, because it controls and helps with digestion. The slow release of glucose to the bloodstream, and this controlled release of energy. Another thing that fiber does, it helps with satiety, which helps with controlling weight. If you're struggling with food addiction, I have a video coming up on how to actually control and manage food addiction, so make sure that you stick around. Fiber is also a good option for you to take. Fiber will help in reducing the cravings because you'll be fuller for longer. This will help in regulating and controlling your hormones. Another thing that fiber does is that it helps with controlling your gut flora, because insoluble fiber that is from the fruits, the vegetables, actually ferments in the colon, and this actually feeds on the cultures in the tummy, increasing their numbers. And there is a lot of data that actually support the important role that the gut health plays in blood sugar control mechanisms, diabetes control, and generally immune function. There's no compromise there. Of course, you can do other things like taking up fermented foods. You can do a quality probiotic every now and then if your intake is limited of the fermented quality foods or the fibrous foods. But you need to ensure that as you take the probiotic, you also try as much as you can to actually change your dietary habits to ensure that you increase the fiber intake and the fermented foods. If you're diabetic, you just have to do it. There's no shortcut, my good people. There's no shortcut. The next thing that I'm going to emphasize on is the importance of being a mindful eater. There's a direct relationship between stress and occurrences of diabetes. It is not the only thing that is going to cause you diabetes, but if stress comes in with poor diet, lack of physical exercise, with poor sleep patterns, eventually you're exposing yourself to the development of conditions like diabetes. And most people, me included, we usually use food for emotional purposes. And that is normal because God gave us all these beautiful food varieties so that we can actually enjoy and feel good about ourselves. But it is also very important that when you are in that state, because we understand our bodies, we understand our abilities, if you feel like you are actually in a position where there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of stress, try as much as you can to stock up on healthy quality snacks, things like nuts, things like apples. They can actually stay longer, mangoes, oranges, things that you can actually snack on the go that will reduce that craving, because stress increases production of cortisol, and if it's persistent, hypercortisolism can actually occur that causes increase or actually constant cravings for food. So you want to ensure that you're trying as much as you can to adapt measures to actually help you control the stressful situations in your life. You can do therapy, you can talk to a friend, you can do yoga, you can also do breathing exercises. As I stated when I started, I said that diabetes management includes a lot of holistic care. There's the nutritional aspect, there's the psychological aspect, whereby you are trying to actually understand the client's point of view, how their mental, how their emotional well-being is. And this is very crucial, because if you don't get this part right, any form of therapy that you're going to give them might not be taken up. I want you to remember that all this information that I have shared and more, unless you're willing to actually take them up and start doing them, nothing will change when it comes to your diabetes. So it is important that you take the initiative to actually start and implement the changes that we have talked about. Let it not just be a video where you listen to about strategies and you go ahead and continue with your normal routine. So be a mindful eater. Take time to have your meals. Don't eat in a rush. Don't eat to try and stuff your emotions, your pain, or your anguish or your anxiety. Don't do that. If you're feeling anxious and food does the calmness for you, do things like breathing exercises as you chew your food. Get the full flavor of that particular food that you're taking. Try to even understand the taste, the different textures of the particular food or the particular snack that you are going to have. Of course, for most of us, when we are in that situation, the things that we will crave for are either sugary, fatty foods, or even salty foods. All this, the overconsumption is actually discouraged because, again, of the occurrences of all these complications that come with being diabetic. I know life is hard. I know that. I know things can be tough, and most of us usually think like, okay, she's just telling us to control stress. She doesn't know what you're going through. We all have those episodes where we are going through something, but try as much as you can to control it. Try talk to a stranger. Come to my inbox. Tell me about your problems. Just don't dump them too much, because I don't want to go crazy as well. Also remember to understand your triggers, your emotional triggers that actually prompt you to have the certain food choices that you eat when you're stressed. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about is on the importance of physical exercise. People don't want to be told to work out because they are thinking they are so busy. A day has 24 hours. You can take up at least 20 minutes or 30 minutes to do physical exercise every other day. You can walk, you can do strength training, you can do HIIT. Just make sure that you watch on the timelines. You will ensure that you watch on your blood sugars before you engage on physical exercise that is demanding, and also check on after to ensure that you have that pattern, you understand, so that you don't go hypo and lose momentum and things go south. Exercise has tremendous health benefits for people with diabetes, from controlling stress levels to reducing the circulating blood glucose. It increases and builds muscles, and when these muscles are actually built, it increases the store for the glucose that is circulating in the blood. Apart from your cells, apart from energy, your glucose will have somewhere else to be stored. That is basically your muscles. Muscles burn energy more than fat. This is why people who work out continue losing weight even after they've worked out for like 3 months or 4 months and then they stopped for a while. But that is not encouraged. If you're working out, let's try to be consistent, because it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that we want to actually adapt and start on every other day. It's something that we want to be doing every day. So let's try as much as we can to be consistent with it. I've talked about the importance of understanding the type of food that you're going to have. Understand your carbohydrates. Ensure that you consume quality fats. Ensure that you take up enough protein. Ensure that you consume fibers. You take care of your gut. You take care of your stress. You do physical exercise, and you do enough water. Water is very important. I finished my glass. It helps in removal of the excess toxins. It helps with detoxifying the system. It also helps with the kidney health. Remember that diabetes is one of the leading causes of disability and kidney failures in the world. So let me know in the comment section some of the things that you would like to understand about diet and nutrition and diabetes. I'll be more than glad to help you. If you have not liked this video, please consider liking it and consider subscribing to help my channel grow and reduce the occurrences of diabetes, because the projections don't look pretty. They don't look pretty at all. It will take your effort and mine to help us reduce or actually prevent those numbers from coming to reality. So thank you so much for watching. Ensure that you watch this video next on how to actually control your blood sugars, because I emphasize a lot on the importance of blood sugar control and some of the terms that I have also talked about in this video, like glycemic index, insulin index. I talk about it more there, and let's meet there. So until next time, bye.